stay calm and we don't fall into this terror of the unknown, then we can start pushing back on this simply by refusing to cooperate with our own enslavement. A few can only enslave billions if the billions acquiesce. And through fear of death and fear of this and fear of that, fear of the virus, billions are acquiescing to the few. That's what happens when this survival mechanism is triggered. And we need to go beyond it, not fall into that, and look at things dispassionately, calmly, and we'll see what we'll never see. And then we've got a chance.
I find it fascinating that you say to remain calm, because that's what a cult says is the opposite of what you should do. A cult says, look out for them. We gotta, that's what they want to do, because it gets you to follow their agenda.
Yeah,
exactly. You're saying the opposite.
It wants you to panic. It wants you to be in fear. What creates fear more than this? What's going on now?
What can we expect to happen in the next few days, in the next few weeks, in the next months? I mean, there's a playbook coming here.
Yeah.
And what's it going to look like? And because the more we can expect what's going to happen, I think it would help people prepare to remain calm and to know when they can say, maybe I don't want to do this.
Well, I think we should be saying that now, frankly. Like I say, we should do everything to protect those that are vulnerable to this virus. But the rest of it, we should be carrying on in every way possible. Otherwise, there's going to be nothing left at the end of it. It's going to be a nightmare scenario. Where will this go from here? This is my view. The question is, at what point does this cult behind all this think that it has got what it wants? At what point does it think the economic system is so damaged that another one has to replace it, and people will be open to that because of the catastrophic nature of how things are? Have we got far enough in this that people will accept more tracking, more control? Have we got far enough that the imposition of a vaccine, even on those that don't want it, will have so much public support that it will be very difficult to resist? These are the questions that will answer the other questions of where this is going. Where it is going and how extreme it becomes will be dictated by how far they think they have to go to get the solutions that they want to take us further and further closer to this Hunger Games society. They are the decisions and the way that they think. And what happens to humanity is irrelevant to these people. I'll tell you, having tracked these people for 30 years, they make a run-of-the-mill psychopath look like Mary bloody Poppins. We're not dealing with people that have even a smear of empathy. So the idea, we're going to protect old people, please. So this is what the decisions they'll make. Have we reached a situation now? Have we made it so extreme that we can now get what we want? And when they think that we've reached that point, then things will change.
The subcommunication I'm seeing from all of the officials is this is going on for a long time. They're saying 15 days in America, which is going to be extended. They're talking months and months and months. They're mentioning things like July and August of when this might stop, which is a long time from now.
What are you describing? The totalitarian tiptoe? Well, it'll be, we're stopping everything till April the 3rd. Oh, blimey, April the 3rd? Bloody hell, how am I going to earn a living? Oh, no, it's now May. What? Your living's over. Oh, no, now it's June. This is the totalitarian tiptoe. And like I say, when they reach the point that they think, well, we've got to a point now where we're going to be able to get everything we want out of this, then you'll see it flatline.
I don't think we can understate the economic implications of what's going on right now. And I think a lot of people say, especially if they don't have a ton of money, they said, that's just the rich, that's just money. Money's not important as your health. But if you take everyone's capital away, it strains the health and it strains the whole system to where there's a lot more damage that can happen than 10,000, 100,000, and 200,000 people dying. It can be much, much worse and have massive generational implications.
Yeah.
And what they're doing now, I've never seen anything like this. They were and the New York Times read some numbers about after 9/11, the dips in GDP, the dips in spending, it was minuscule. And yet now you've got everything shut down. I mean, we've never seen anything like this, even like a wartime scenario of the economy just completely going into a vacuum, and everyone's going to feel it. And it's going to cause for irrationality everywhere. And the deaths, like you say, is going to be a blip of the problems we're having.
And then what comes from that?
Yeah.
The law of the jungle. That's what happens when people get desperate. And all these things, I've been
Well,
in my books for years. That
is some of that
all-
happening to convince everybody of this new economic system you're talking about?
Yeah, and also, of course, if you start getting violent reactions and crime because of desperate people who don't know how they're going to survive, what does that do? It justifies more and more police state to protect the people. See, this is why, Brian, I've emphasized this a number of times today. Please, they do not give a shit about you. So, when they tell you they do, there's a reason for it, and it's not for your benefit. Because if they give a shit about you, you would not be in the situation you're in. The world would not be as it is. You wouldn't have something like 6 people have as much wealth as the poorest half of the population if they gave a shit about you. So when they tell you they do, they're lying, and they're lying for a reason, to get something as a result of you believing that they actually are trying to protect you. They're not trying to protect old people. They couldn't give a damn. They don't want old people. It's in their documents over the years. They don't want old people. Because old people, oh no, they can't serve the system anymore. So what did Kissinger call them? Useless eaters. That's what he called them. And that's how they perceive them. And now we're supposed to believe that this is all to protect them. Oh, please, do me a favour. We need to wake up to the fact that something beyond frickin' evil is running this world. I've been trying to get this out for all these years, and I do understand why. Because people do not have, in their lives in general, experience of undiluted evil that has no empathy and no compassion and no emotional consequence for anything it does. When you don't have that in your life, and most people don't, it's very difficult to grasp the scale of evil that's running this world. And the idea that they are trying to protect us by taking our freedom away is such a joke, it's unbelievable. If people don't like that, well, they can do the other thing. I don't mind.
I had a flashback when I was coming into work this morning, and I just thought, what was it like in Germany in, say, 39, where all of a sudden all these rights are being taken away? And I was like, it must have been weird in this state. And I always used to wonder, why didn't everybody leave? But you've got your family there and your businesses and your properties there, so you put up with a little more, and you put up a little more, and then they vilify this group over here. And I don't know, and I don't think about this stuff that often. I'm not a history buff, but it just snapped in my mind, and I was just like, what's going on here? David, a lot of people will listen to us today and go away really depressed and really down and not see any type of future. I know you don't like leaving people that way. So what is something people can go away with a positive note? What's something they can focus on? Are we going to get through this?
Well, I've just finished a book, which is going to come out next few months, which is all about what we can do. And there's many elements to it, although there's an absolute core to it. And one of the key things we need to do, I would say, is to change our self-identity. If you identify as your name, your life story, your race, your religion, your background, whatever, you are identifying with a set of labels that are transitory and are incredibly brief. And those set of labels are not you. They are what you are experiencing. I am not David Icke. I am a point of attention, which can be myopic or vast, within an infinite stream of consciousness. And you are a point of attention in that same consciousness that observes reality from a different point of view. We are all points of attention in that same one consciousness, which is why racism is so ludicrous. And if you self-identify with your labels as the I, the total I, then you see the world in a certain way, and it can be very frightening. But when you self-identify as I am eternal, infinite awareness having this experience, and when I leave the body, which is just a way that the body focuses our attention within a tiny band of frequency, and when we leave the body, our attention expands as far as we want it to, because that attention is no longer being focused through the body, through the 5 senses. And we go on experiencing and exploring forever. This is a brief experience for a point of eternal consciousness that we give a name to. And when you observe the world from that perspective, which is where I've been coming from for a long time now, it's not so frightening. And you have the ability to connect dots because you're seeing things from a panorama and not a myopia. And from myopia can seem very, very fearful, but from the panorama, it's just another experience. And one of the things I go into in the book, and we'll chat about this when it comes out, I'm sure, is our perceptions, and it can be explained very simply how this works, our perceptions become our experience. And if you fall into fear of something, everything that we everything in this reality, everything, even the coronavirus, is a frequency. Every thought is a frequency. Fear is a frequency. It's a different frequency to love. It's a different frequency to joy. And we live in this sea of frequency, of possibility and probability. And it's like being a computer that is living in its Wi-Fi sea. And within that Wi-Fi sea is everything on the internet. And so potentially you can put anything on the internet on your screen, your experience. But our perceptions are also frequencies. And so if we are in a frequency of fear and we are generating that frequency, that field, that electromagnetic field, we are going to make a symbiotic frequency connection with like frequencies. And what we do is we draw to us as an experience what we fear. And all the time, people say, this is always happening to me. Hey, Ethel, it's happened again. Why? Why do certain things keep repeating in people's lives but not repeat in others? Because what they're putting out as perception, which is a frequency field, is drawing towards them in like a magnetic phenomenon. It's drawing to them what they're putting out. And so if you fall into fearing something, the likelihood of that becoming your experience is massively increased. I've experimented with this through my life, and I had very serious rheumatoid arthritis. I mean, I remember on one occasion I was trying to walk through Terminal 5 at Heathrow Airport, and literally I was shuffling my feet. I had no shoes on. I was shuffling my feet along towards the plane because I couldn't even lift my legs. I don't have that now. I have no pain. It doesn't affect my life in any way. And the difference is, I changed my perception. See, why is it that so many people die within the period that the doctor tells them they have to live? How long have I got, doctor? 6 months. They die in 6 months, over and over and over again. And you know something? People have been told they have a fatal disease. The doctor has given them a prognosis, you have so long to live, and they've died. And when they've done the post-mortem, they didn't have the fatal disease. Because the mind is all powerful. It's constantly creating our reality. Its perceptions are constantly becoming our experience. And so I decided that if my reality was being controlled by my perceptions, then my perception is this arthritis is not going to trouble me anymore. And it's not going to progress. And it's not going to have me in a wheelchair and wizened up. And that's exactly what's happened. No drugs, no doctor. That's exactly what's happened. And everybody has the power to use their mind to dictate their own reality. Why is it that this cult, this system, is so desperate to control human perception? Because it knows human perception becomes human experience. And if we fall into states of fear, we are going to manifest fear, reasons to fear all around us. But if we take our minds back, we take our consciousness back, we can create a different reality. Because what is human society? It's the sum total of human perception. Human perception changes, human society must change because it's just a reflection of the sum total of human perception. We love each other, we live in a loving world. We hate each other, we live in a world of hate. We fear, we live in a world of fear. We are in control. They've just persuaded us we're not.
I'm so excited for this new book, dude. And the message you just said, I've heard from some of the greatest minds that have ever sat in that chair, especially ones that have been around for a little while. They come to the same conclusion as you have, that we are what we believe, and the energy we put out there is what we get back.
Exactly. This book is all about that in a very accessible way, because they say the more you know there is to know. Well, yeah, on one level that's right. But there's another way, the more you know, the more you realize how little there is to actually know to take control of your life and your life experience. And so much of the complexity hides these simple, sparkling truths. Genius, this is the misunderstanding of the academic intellectual mind. It perceives understanding complexity as intelligence and cleverness, when genius is seeing the simple hidden by complexity. And in the end, when you get down to the core, we are what we perceive. Change what you perceive and you'll change what you experience.
And that applies to right now almost even more.
Absolutely.
Because if I'm not in fear, if I'm not worried about this stuff, then I don't react to it. I had a friend of mine who said, Brian, I don't see you running to the store and buying these things. Or
Bore me.
I was like, well, I'll just fast or I'll just do this. And actually, I've come to a point where I'm probably more ready to die than I've ever been in my life, because I feel like I've done a lot of things I need to do. And I don't want to die, but I'm to a point where I'm not always reacting in fear. And I'm trying to think of things from different planes of thought.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel very in power and control and calm.
But you see, when you move your self-identity to I am an infinite point of attention with an infinite state of consciousness, what does that immediately do? It deletes the fear of death. What is death? It's a withdrawing of our point of attention. That's all death is. It's a transfer of our point of attention. That's all it is. So there's none of fear. And once you let go of fear of death, so many things that you are able to be manipulated through that fear of death go. You can't manipulate anymore. Fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown? Well, I like surprises. You know what I mean? Just it completely transforms everything when you re-self-identify with the I. And fear of death is the first one to go. And I'm the same as you. I don't want to leave here until I've done everything I can do to contribute. And I think I'm going to be around for a long time. In so many ways, and I explain this in the book, we can dictate how long we're around. Again, if the mind can transform rheumatoid arthritis, which should have had me in a wheelchair by now, but hasn't and won't, then it can transform anything, including the nature of life. I explain in the book how you can think yourself alive and you can think yourself dead. So I'm going to stay around and make the best contribution I can. But when I go, I will be, yes. Do we want to stay in this myopia band of frequency forever? Are you having a laugh? What a nightmare. So it's just an experience. And then we move on and experience the infinity of forever. I mean, I'm terrified. Coronavirus. Oh, gold, we're all going to die. I don't think so.
Final thoughts, David, on everything we talked about today, the virus, the lockdown, the recession, just anything.
Well, I would just say what I said earlier in terms of, if you want to understand the world, find out where we're being taken, what the goal is, and then the world just opens up. Oh, so that's why they're doing that. Oh, so that's why that's happening. Instead of, what's happening? Oh, what are they doing that for? It becomes so clear. And what you do is then you take control of your perception. Because it's very difficult to manipulate people, impossible to manipulate people when you understand the game. Because how does problem, reaction, solution manipulate you when you understand how it works? How does the totalitarian tiptoe manipulate you when you understand how it works? Know the game, and you can win the game, instead of being a victim of the game, which is what's happened up to this point.
And that's good advice to anyone watching. Know the game, and you can win the game. Remain calm. Separate you from yourself. Understand your infinite consciousness, and then make your decision.
Yeah, just stay calm. We are an infinite point of eternal consciousness on an eternal journey of exploring all possibility. That's as bad as it gets. This is just an experience. We can make it a nice experience, or we can make it an unpleasant experience. We have the power to choose. And it's about time we realize that, because when enough people do, this cult is history.
And what a great time for us to realize this. This could be a great catalyst for realization.
I think it is, Brian. I mean, we need to appreciate the difference between those that control the microphones and so many people, not all by any means, but so many people and gathering in number who don't get to the microphones. You see the activists and the climate cult activists and the coronavirus activists and the frickin' transgender activists and all that, and the politically correct activists, and then you talk to the public, and you see a completely different perception to that. But because they dominate the microphones, as of course they do because that's the agenda, people can get the impression that that's what the population thinks. It doesn't. My father used to say, the silent majority is silent because it's got nothing to say. It's time for the silent majority to speak. And when we do, things will change, but not until.
And that's something you said in the last episode or the episode before. You said for people should always feel free to say how they feel. That's the most important thing. You shouldn't feel like you can't say how you feel. You should say how you feel.
It simply comes to self-respect. I ask people, what are you doing allowing someone else to tell you what to think, to tell you what you can say, to tell you what you can believe? What are you doing? Where's your self-respect? And we live in a world of psychological fascism where people are constantly seeking to impose their beliefs on other people. We see it with religion all the time. We see it with the woke mentality all the time. I believe this, so you must believe that. And if people acquiesce to that, then tyranny rules. And if we don't, if we say, you can call me what you like, and people do, I don't care. Call me this, call me that, call me the other. Well, thanks for sharing that with me. Have a nice day. But you say it anyway. And if enough people say it and refuse to bow to this psychological tyranny, imposing on our lives what we can be, what we can say, what we can think, the number of people being imposed upon is vast compared with the number of people doing the imposing. I think I see a way out of this. You know, stiffen the backbone, grow a pair, say what you believe, have self-respect in your own uniqueness, and don't let anyone take it away. And if we live in a world of multiple uniqueness, where everyone is celebrating their own uniqueness, their own unique, all part of the same consciousness, yes, but their own unique point of attention, then that true diversity means tyranny can't reign. What does every tyranny want to do? Centralize everything, including perception. The more we celebrate our uniqueness, the more we are withdrawing from the ability of the few at the center to dictate to everybody. You will think this. I won't. You will say that. You won't say that. I will. What are they going to do? Why do people acquiesce and self-censor? Fear. Right. Get rid of fear, the world changes. Because the world is controlled by fear. Delete fear, delete control.
David, it's always a pleasure having you on.
Real pleasure. I'm going to shake your hand.
Yeah, I'll shake
Don't
your hand
you
too.
give me anything nasty now.
I won't. And let me just say, you know, clearly I don't agree with you on everything. But that's okay because I feel like I can speak my mind in front of you. And I really appreciate
but
it.
I would be disappointed if you did, because you would not be unique.
Exactly. And I'm so glad I had you on. About 3 years ago when I was going to have you on, I thought of all the reasons I shouldn't have you on. And every time you come
I bet that took some time.
it did. Who is this crazy guy? And people said, don't have David Icke on your show. And you were here, and that first episode, you blew me away with how most of the things you said made total sense to me. And I had you on again, and this is the fourth time. And I'll be honest, David, a lot of people told me not to have you on today. And I had to go back. And I thought, every time I have David on, he always shows me that he's got some amazing knowledge and amazing perspective about what's going on here. And I'm so glad I had you on to talk about this stuff.
Why wouldn't people want me on?
Exactly.
I have no problem with you interviewing anyone you choose with any opinion that they have. So where does tyranny come from? Me? Or those that say, don't have him on? They might find a mirror, they might look at it, and they might learn something.
We're going to end it on that statement. David, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And in some ways, David, I love you as well. So keep doing what you do. I really appreciate it. For everybody else out there, please listen to this message, meditate on it, change your behavior, change your thoughts, and everything else will change. And we're going to make it through this, right?
Pleasure.
Thank you, David.
Pleasure, Brian, as always.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.
All right. At London Real, we believe that individual transformation can change the world. Join us and start your journey